consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission: to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential.
I've had people have walls made of thorns that are 50 feet out. And just we go in and we release each trapped emotion that has built that wall until the wall is gone. I released one on myself a little too willfully and managed to have chest pains for the entire next day, so bad like it felt like I was having a heart attack. But I did it on myself. I did too many at a time, but I also knew what I was doing. And knew that there was going to be a little bit of a repercussion there. So, but the person that created the emotion code also created the body code, which is something that I actually need to purchase and do some training on eventually as well. And that actually expands the different things that you can look at, things like nutrition deficiencies, color deficiencies, resonance, emotional resonance, that type of thing. Yeah. Was that helpful?
For me, it was very helpful, and I can't wait to. I was, well, to be fair, I was already
Please be fair.
I was kind of like already reading a lot about this, right? And I think my introduction to this started with Dr. Lipton's book. Dr. Lipton.
I think that's who it is, right?
Right. I was wondering if that.
I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I know.
And he talks about epigenetics, and topics like that, and what you were talking about, how to override in the subconscious, right? And there's methods, and he also alluded that affirmations was a very long way, long and hard way, and people, there are easier ways, but again, with the help of people, coaches and people who know what they're doing. But
I would say it's kind of like, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's kind of like when you go to a field that's never been tilled, there are rocks down there and there's grass that's there, and you have to till it before planting seeds is actually going to do a whole lot of good. Affirmations would be the seeds.
Yeah.
The other stuff that the emotion code and other types of traumatic release help is like the tilling.
And affirmations, because it's so difficult, right? If you started it and you never you were never consistent with it, and you didn't yet go all the way, it may actually be counterproductive, right?
Right, especially for people who are new.
Yeah, exactly. So to the question about that you need to be very careful to entrust this into the person's hands who really knows how to handle this in such a way that they won't trigger a release of something that will totally bring you down to your knees, right? As you were saying. Right. I mean, for us, for people who are making, who are thinking about this and know that they would like to pursue it, right? It's kind of difficult to know, it's confusing, right? Who we could trust.
Who we can trust.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, how would you explain?
So the biggest thing there is, I don't personally believe the best way to find out is looking at reviews. I believe the best way to find out is listening to your intuition, and figuring out if a person resonates with you. When you can go and you can look at their Facebook post, or you can listen to the sound of their voice, most coaches are going to have some type of introductory phone call that they're willing to get on with you. When you can really kind of tune into who they are, and for non-intuitives, I know that that's asking a lot. If someone's not intuitive, doesn't know how to listen to their intuition, reviews might be the only way you can figure it out. But even then, your intuition is active. If somebody doesn't feel right, go with someone else, please. And just trust yourself to know that you're making the right choice. I've worked with coaches in the past who didn't fully align with who I am, but who I needed in the moment. And I followed my intuition to work with them, even though their message wasn't what my message is.
Mm-hmm.
And when you trust yourself and trust where you're going, even if you choose the wrong direction, you'll be able to make it right. I would also suggest that if someone is offering a short-term thing,
mm-hmm.
So I recently personally changed to where I don't allow anybody to work with me just for a month, ever. I do have emotional clearing sessions, but when it comes to coaching, you can only work with me if you're willing to work with me for a total of 3 months or more.
Mm-hmm.
If people are offering shorter terms or 1 coaching session or 2 coaching sessions, it's better to go with someone who can be there for you longer term, because if you start having breakdowns, they're there to continue working with you. You want somebody who you can reach out to if you just had an emotional clearing session and be like, I'm freaking out, and know that they're going to say, okay, calm down. Here's what you're going to do. You also have to be willing to understand that you may need to end up paying for coaching instead of just doing the emotional clearing session, because you may need more support. But when you are open to listening to yourself first, and then understanding that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make a change in your own life,
Mm-hmm.
those two things combined will lead you to the right person.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the surest way, right? Basically, trust your emotion, trust your intuition, right? They're all empaths, right? So just some of us are not open to it. But I mean, it's interesting that people with issues usually are not good at listening to their emotions and their intuitions, right? So
well, and it depends on how bad the issues are.
yeah.
You can have issues and still know how to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
But you can tell when somebody's not all there. You can tell when there's something off. And if you have any reservations, other than money reservations,
Mm-hmm.
if you have any reservations of working with a person, just go find someone else. Trust yourself that much.
I think for people who don't think that they are very intuitive, I think sorry, pardon me, Molly.
Good, you got it.
Focus a little bit. It's one thing that you can do is pay attention when you're talking with somebody. If you don't actually just feel like, hey, I really enjoyed talking to this person,
Mm-hmm.
that's your intuition. You're just not connecting.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
And that, it's basically, if it's a yes, it ought to be a hell yes. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
No, it's going to be a hell no.
Right.
It's true.
And I mean, as a coach, that's something that I've learned, is that there are some people I won't work with.
Yeah.
Every time I've worked with someone that my intuition was telling me not to work with, every time I wasn't excited about working with someone, I have regretted it the entire time I was working with them. Because there just are. There's some people you're going to resonate with. There are some people who are ready to change. And there are some who aren't. Yeah. And when you trust the connection, this person could be my best friend. Go work with them.
Yeah.
Versus, I really don't like this person that much. Don't work with them. I'm going to have to plug my phone in. It was at full battery when you first got on here.
Yeah.
We drain people's energy here. Part of the show.
Yeah. I just want to comment on that in our meetup and in other social settings, right? I also would like to say that we need to give it time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people are like songs, sometimes. There are some songs that you immediately like, right?
Right.
And but the 3 days after listening to it is like, stop, I can't do this anymore. Stop, go out of my mind. And there are others. I remember there was one band I started listening to, and I put it down 3 or 4 times, and then it became one of my favorite albums, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just grew on me, that way. Yeah. So I think with people too, I in our meetup, as we continued interacting, I really formed much more. I became much more fonder of some interesting people who I didn't really understand, in the beginning, right? So.
Well, and timing is imperative. There's a guy who 6 months ago I never would have worked with, who has shifted who he is so much in the last 6 months that now I would love to work with him because who he is has broadened. And so trusting that
shifted too, right? So neither one of us is the same person.
Absolutely. And trusting that the timing, like you don't have to give someone a chance at the time when they don't feel right. You can wait and then come back around and then, the timing's right. Now it's time for us to work together. And that's totally acceptable.
Can we detour just a little bit? Because I think this is an important idea in a lot of areas of life, not just when you're talking about finding a coach or something like
this. Yeah, absolutely.
Or a doctor or whatever. Because we do put up with people who we would rather not put up with.
Yes.
We don't pursue people who we probably feel like we should pursue.
Right.
It's a daily thing. Sometimes we just don't listen to that intuition.
Right.
And it is a tool that we all have the ability to use. And you get better just through practice, but you just have to pay a little attention to it
Absolutely.
to get better, and it can really, really help us in our personal lives in so many different ways if we just are a little bit more sort of self-aware, I guess.
Right.
You said present, right? Present.
Yeah.
You can even take it down to, and I love starting with this. You can even take it down to your food. Your palate is very intuitive. It's very instinct driven. And this goes even to parenting. A lot of parents will force their kids to eat stuff that they don't like. But the reality is that your palate will actually tell you what your body can process and what it can't. So even in food, very early in our lives, most of us are taught, don't listen to your intuition, don't listen to your intuition, don't listen to your intuition, don't listen to your intuition. So you do have to kind of start with those baby steps of, okay, if I don't like a food, I don't need to eat it, even if it's labeled as healthy. One thing I recently, in recent years, discovered the blood type diet. And I always pretended that I like avocados, and I don't like avocados. I like them in guacamole when the guacamole is made by Cuban people. No one else, just Cubans. And I like them when they have a ton of salt on them. But otherwise, I hate avocados. So when I found the O blood type, or the blood type diet, and I found out that I was an O blood type, I discovered that avocados are on the do not eat list. And I was like, oh, well, I've been trying to force myself to eat something that's not even good for my body.
Oh, I had the same thing. I know what you mean. For the full blood, eating by in accordance with your blood type. And I'm also O, so I had the same story about avocados, actually.
Well, and the fun part is, I always tell people, you have to shift it. You don't have to follow it exactly, because you still need to listen to your instincts and your intuition. I eat more of a Mediterranean diet now, but we're taught, don't listen to authority, listen to authority figures. And so when we begin moving into listening to our intuition, it's a very quiet voice. It's always pointing a certain direction. And you can start with something as simple as, if I don't like something, I'm not going to eat it anymore. If I like something, go ahead.
How about wheat? Is that?
Yeah, no wheat. Well, and the thing is, I really don't like wheat. I don't like a lot of pasta and breads. I like it occasionally. But I actually had celiac. And I was actually able to heal that through different meditations and different prayers that I say over my food now. So I no longer have celiac. And I was actually able to help one of my clients help her daughter to heal from that as well. Mm-hmm. But I still don't really like bread that much. I like it a little bit, and I'll eat it now and then. But
yeah,
you couldn't even be friends with my wife.
Yeah, I was surprised. Typos, wheat is on that list too.
Well, there's no such thing as wheat anymore. They cross-pollinated it so many times in the last 100 years that corn, wheat, and soy don't even exist.
No.
So, I mean, it's really not wheat that you're allergic to. What you're allergic to is the high protein content, which is also why people are allergic to peanuts now that wouldn't have been allergic 100, 500 years ago, because the protein content is so much higher and the body has not evolved to tolerate it.
Yeah,
totally off topic.
Just for our listeners, there's a great book by Dr. Davis, right? Wheat Belly, it's called.
Yeah.
A while back, it was like maybe 3 or 4 years, or maybe more. And he's talking about what happened to wheat. It's not the same wheat that we, had when we were free and running and
and just picking it from the vine.
Before they invented cubicles, So yeah.
A friend of mine, somebody that I'm connected to on Facebook, posted a picture the other day. They were in an Asian food store here, and there was a package of gluten. In case you're not getting enough in your diet.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. As far as the diet, how do you think? How important is this component in your program of releasing programming and stuff? Is that like a part of it?
Well, sometimes it is. With my parents specifically, diet is very important. I've had several parents change the way that they feed their kids. But what's interesting is, in every case, it was allowing their kids to eat what they wanted, with the exception of junk food. It's always amazing to me how some parents get so frustrated and angry with their kids for running around and being crazy and being hyper, but they're feeding them Frosted Flakes in the morning, and the kids are drinking sodas. And I'm like, hello, you're drugging your kids all day, and then you're angry at the effects that it's causing. Your kid doesn't have ADD. Your kid doesn't have ADHD. They have a problem with sugar. Yeah. So that I go into that, but I also don't believe in totally vilifying different types of food, because the reality is that your belief is what determines how you react with food. You do need to eat what you want to eat, but if you believe I'm always going to be fat, and the issue is that I overeat and therefore I am fat, or I'm getting older and therefore I am fat, you're going to continue being overweight. If you believe I can eat anything, I can drink anything, and I'll be absolutely healthy, I'll be a size 0, I'll never have any health problems. If you truly believe that, that will happen. If you truly believe that. Now, the problem is that most people will try affirmations like that, and they'll think they believe it, but the reality is
the vibration is not there, right?
Right.
So, two things. One is, there is a book called Sugar Blues, and I believe it's written by Gloria Swanson, an actress from way back in the last century. And it is fascinating. And I read this thing, and I was like, where was she? Because she was obviously following me around through my whole childhood. And I mean, it absolutely outlined everything that we were eating as kids. And so it talks about what sugar does to you. So it's a fascinating book, even if you're not going to do anything. But the other thing is, Gabi, you have to tell the story about your cruise.
Yes, that's
what you discovered on your cruise.
That's true. That's true.
Related to this idea.
That goes back to the point that you're making, because, you know, my family members were always laughing at me for being so sure that some of the foods I consumed were really healthy choices. And they've sensed that I really was 100% sure about that. And they even got some of my confidence and, you know, started also trying some things. But yeah, what Tim was alluding to was that, you know, bacon on cruise ships is amazing because, I mean, it's also unlimited and they...
That's the most amazing part, right?
And you also get to pick your own bacon, you know what I'm saying? So
right.
You could really grab the ones that you want. That's the most exciting thing. So I had we went on a 15-day cruise, and there wasn't a single morning that I had breakfast without bacon. And actually, and because my wife was telling me that, oh, you know, that's going to put a lot of calories on, you know. I was like, no, I won't. And I would put and I decided I'm going to eliminate all other choices. And there's like a full bar and anything. So I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to compensate by not including anything else. So, you know, so just bacon and I would just throw in a piece of melon or something just for my palate. You know,
right.
To have some contrast, you know. And it was fascinating. And the funny thing was that 15 days after, I didn't become any bigger than I was. It's fine.
Right.
So fine, and it's really enjoyable. It was really.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It was like a party. You know?
Different foods do have different vibrations. I mean, things that are highly processed do have lower vibrations. So. Just like we were talking about, you attract, you know, like attracts like. So if you're eating all low vibrational foods, unless you're just really high vibe with your thoughts and you can compensate for it, and most people aren't, some people are, then you're not going to be able to compensate for it. But it really just depends on the quality of your thoughts, what you can do. It's important to note, and I like talking about this. So personally, over the last 2 years, I gained a ton of weight, emotional weight. And the interesting thing is, so most people will get like really angry with their body, you know, very, very mad. But what I tell people is, you know, you do realize that your body is trying to protect you. I was going through all these emotional changes, and your body will actually develop fat in places where it thinks that having that extra layer of protection is important. So even changing your diet or going to the gym, if you don't change your conversation with yourself about those emotions, your body will still pack on the weight. So for instance, like my arms right now are much bigger than they've probably been in a good 10 years. But it's because like that upper arm is to protect your heart specifically. Your stomach, of course, is going to protect your solar plexus and your sacral chakra. And understanding, okay, my body is developing this layer of defense means that it thinks that I can't handle what's happening. And so I have my clients very frequently begin talking to their body like, it's okay. You don't need to protect me. I'm thankful. Thank you for protecting me, but I got this. And when you make that change in how you converse with your body will work much more willingly to do what you want it to do.
That, and also I think the conviction that you are a very healthy and able person at the core, you know, I felt that it was very empowering for me. It's like, even sometimes when I had some busy times and I didn't get to exercise as often, right? Yes. I never kind of judged myself, oh my God, you really let your body down or whatever. I'm thinking, you know what, at the core, I'm a very powerful physical.
Yes.
Well, this goes back to what you were saying, Anna Marie, about whether you truly believe.
Yes.
What you're wanting to believe, you know.
Yep, exactly.
No, some bacon is going to have any impact on me here. Especially
because I am a healthy individual. Yes.
I'm a very healthy individual. And you know what? I get to enjoy bacon because I'm a healthy individual. Plus,
So I've actually, you know, I don't know if you've seen the experiments done over water and over plants and over rice, you know, where you say the kind thing to one and the evil thing to the other. So I have started and I failed to be, I did this when I rid myself of celiac, and then I failed to be consistent with it, and I'm working on becoming consistent with it again. But every time before I eat, first I thank God for my food, and I ask that anything in it that is negative, that's low vibration, will be taken into the light and healed, so that anything, so that my body only absorbs the good from the food or from the soda or from the water or from the coffee or whatever. And then I envision, so if it's a steak, I literally envision a cow. If it's coffee, I literally envision a coffee plant. And I thank it for giving of itself that I can thrive. And it's amazing to me the difference in the way my body is able to process the food when I feel that gratitude and when I speak those words versus when I don't.
Yeah, and taking food becomes a spiritual experience, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so much more delicious.
We consume so much of. Let me say this a different way. So much of the time, as we're eating, we're just consuming, and we're not really paying any attention to the act of eating.
Or we're watching the news where all of this bad stuff is happening, and we have a negative guilt feeling while eating.
Yeah, that could be part of it, but I just have recognized that if I'm visually distracted by anything as I'm eating, I am just not getting the pleasure out of that food. It doesn't matter how good it is. Right. You're just not paying attention. And I'll be halfway through a meal and like, where'd it go? Yeah. I liked it so much and I missed all of that. And I think that goes along with, that can play a part in how it affects your body once you consume.
We have a tendency to numb when we don't want to feel things. And that goes along with that. I don't remember what it was that someone said to me. He said he felt like he might be numbing. I made a post about numbing and try not to numb, try to allow yourself to feel. And someone asked, like, well, what do you mean by numbing? And I said, let me take some guesses. I was like, lately, you've been watching movies or television, but you're not even really watching it. You're not getting enjoyment out of it because you're on Facebook or you're on a game on your phone and you're playing the game or you're scrolling through Facebook. So you're not really focused on either one. And that way you don't have to feel anything in the movie or in what you're scrolling through. Because even in a movie or a television show, if you're zoned in, truth cannot escape anything that's been created. So anything that you need to feel or experience will come through a well-done movie or TV show if you're fully focused on it. And so we numb ourselves by doing multiple things at once, similarly to exactly what you were talking about. And he was like, yeah, I'm doing that right now. And I said, yeah, I've done it too. We've all done it. But we're in a place where in society, we've come out of survival mode and now we're in a mode where the spirit is begging to take back over and it feels too much. The weight of it is so extensive that we tend to numb, or like you were talking about earlier, look for bad news simply so we don't have to feel all the stuff that's coming up from all the generations before us that were in survival mode. We're being called to deal with the baggage that was never dealt with. And sometimes it just gets massively overwhelming. And that's why we do things like watching TV while we eat or numbing ourselves by playing on our phone while watching a movie. Because the feeling it feels too much. It feels very overwhelming.
Interesting explanation, yeah. I guess when I decide, okay, I'm gonna have this meal, and there is a desire because it's kind of like it's a little too quiet if there's nothing that I am going to consume, mentally. And one improvement that I made was that I would find something pleasant, be it maybe a musical performance or a nice, enjoyable. Definitely not comedy though, but it has to be a nice. I don't want to laugh and choke. But something that is flowing, and it could be maybe some interesting love story that is unfolding or whatever, a great conversation. But the reason why I brought it up is I personally find that the best companions while you eat, don't necessarily, just don't stop watching. I think it could be okay if you watched material that's about food and about food preparation. And so my daughter,
or something that's enjoyable, adds to the experience. Yes,
we were really hooked on Iron Chef back in the day when it was really big.
Love that show. Yes.
Yeah.
I like the original, the Japanese one.
Yeah, the Japanese.
The Bobby flavor.
Yeah. So, and I just remember, and this is such a pleasant memory, when my daughter was still living with us, we would get like Chinese or whatever, or sushi, and we would get on these recliners, and everybody had their meals, and let's play it, and all excited, play, and we would eat this, and they would prepare it, and how they were filming, so exciting, right? That couldn't be bad. We were like really aligned with food and all. So,
well, and the mood plays into it. When you are able to enhance the experience,
exactly.
It reminds me of like makeup. If you're using makeup to cover your face, it's not enjoyable. You're not doing it for good reasons. Therefore, you feel negative emotion. Therefore, it creates a negative experience. If you're using it to enhance, it looks better. You enjoy it. You enjoy the experience. It makes you feel alive and powerful. Or clothes, or really anything where you are enhancing rather than detracting.
Yeah, and the same goes like for, say, like in when we have our dancing parties, right? I would project a nice ballroom setting on the screen, and there'll be people dancing, and the lighting and everything would be great, and everybody suddenly is, so I mean, the media is fine, but you just need to be selective about what you're exposing yourself to, based on the principle to raise the vibration of whatever activity that you're doing, right?
Right. My guilty pleasure is CSI and Criminal Minds, but I recognize that when I eat during those shows, the food and my body don't agree. And so learning to still enjoy what I enjoy while separating my food eating experience from it has been key.
Yeah. What about water?
What about water?
It's wet. I found that out recently.
Really?
Yeah, it's just a shock. Who knew?
Well, it seems that there's a lot of talk about water being this, and because we are, for the most part, water, right? There was an interesting interview that we did with the channel, the being, maybe Julius. It's the collective being being channeled by this wonderful couple, Brad and
oh, Tim told me about them. Yes.
Yeah, Brad and Casey, right?
Right.
Brad and Casey Wallace, and they were talking about interesting thing that our brains, different areas of the brains have different density as far as water, and therefore they conduct electrical current differently,
right?
Because of that, right? And they were saying that we were, electromagnetic receivers and conductors, right? And
Yes.
Water, therefore, I guess they elevated, in my mind, they elevated this into such an interesting standing, right? And I started like really looking into it. And for some time now, drinking water became a ritual, right? And we became very serious about finding the right water, where it came from and all of that. And because water is something that we have every day and more frequently than food, when it comes to finding a good source, of energy, right, that you feed yourself, that becomes like primary, right? Now, one thing that you could do, I would say, right? I know we talked about the foods, right?
Right.
About water. First of all, find water that's really alive, not just distilled water, but alive with energy, right? From a natural setting, right? And the second thing is when you consume water, right? We are now making it into a sort of ritual, as you were saying, right?
Okay.
Thanking our Mother Earth for the source,
right?
And just really kind of swallowing it with this feeling of appreciation and blessing, and that became such a profound experience. So in the morning, and we had another person who was talking about morning rituals, right? And making lists of different rituals. Amazing show, by the way, too. 100 items, different rituals he was collecting from people, and he's publishing them, right? Different rituals,
oh wow, okay,
different morning routines that you could do to really get you on on the path of having a great day,
Yes.
And you could pick what you want, whatever. And one of the rituals I did take there is my first gulp of water in the morning, right? Making into a meditative experience.
I like that. Yes.
Yeah, thinking how water is just going down and nurturing all your cells and
yes,
feeding them, and they're looking, it's thank you,
yeah.
Thank you, but where's the bacon?
I mean, a trivial thing that you do every day could suddenly become elevated into something that really will become will have healing properties, right?
Well, I think this is it. This is part of the foundational, I think, perspective that we are where we're starting from with this show is, at least for me, is that we create our own realities, right?
Right.
So whatever you want to believe about how things work, man, for you it's true.
Right.
And so I mean, you want to give that
perspective, right? Changing perspective.
Exactly. And if what you want to do is use that water, that first glass of water in the morning as the thing to focus on, to say, this is how I'm, starting my day, and this is an important thing, then it's going to be an important thing. And the person sitting next to you may not share it, but it doesn't matter. It's all about each person figuring out what works for them.
Yeah.
That's
true.
So, I was going to...
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we actually do need to wrap up here in a couple of minutes, because I have to get ready to go somewhere. But so, Anna Marie, first off, if you had more comment about the water and that, please do.
I was merely going to say I recently took a lesson from my friend Sarah and started putting my water in wine glasses, because I struggle personally with drinking water, mostly because I don't have a source right now that I like as much, and my soul rejects the fluoride. But I'll be changing that very soon. But putting the water in a wine glass kind of makes it more of a enjoyable experience. Presentation shifts your mindset, and that works in many different areas of your life. If you're struggling to do something you need to do, changing the presentation so your perception is different can make all the difference in what you actually end up doing.
Oh my God. You know what? I didn't do the wine glass, but I find really nice like crystal glasses at Home Goods, right? And here's what happens. When you start drinking it, you're looking at the bottom of this thing, and there is like a beautiful pattern there.
Yes.
And it changes as you like change the angle, right? And it's becoming like a show. It's a light show, because
that's being present in the moment.
Yeah.
That helps you to be present in the moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wonderful. So tell us, I definitely want to get to all those interesting ways of overriding subconsciousness that you were, because I was like, okay, we need to post this actually, and but you're probably circulating this, right, on your Facebook page, and having all this information there.
Yeah, we have discussions about that there fairly frequently. So, what I was saying is definitely finding the traumatic ways to override it is powerful. I know I personally do the emotional clearing. That's always a part of my coaching when people need it. I also personally use subconscious release technique, which is a breathing exercise. And then I use the visualizations. Those are my 3 favorites for helping people to overcome the subconscious beliefs.
Okay. Yep. Cool. And how do people?
Is that what you were asking?
how do people find you?
So people can find me on any platform under Anna Marie Isms, my name, and then Isms. So I've had that handle for quite some time, and on Facebook it's actually Real Anna Marie Isms. My Facebook is probably my most active platform, and that's where you want to go and look. I don't currently have a website, because everything that I do, I have an application for. You have to fill out an application for every single one of the options for working with me. So it's just easier at the moment where I am with my business to have people coming to me face to face.
Okay. Great. And where are you geographically?
I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I know I just said face to face, but all of my coaching is over the by face-to-face, I meant Facebook to Facebook.
Got it.
But I do all my coaching over the phone or over Facebook Messenger.
Got
so.
it. Yeah. Okay, wonderful.
All right, great. Well, I think we're there. So that was an hour and a half that went really quickly. I kind of thought. So, thank you for being here and laying some wisdom on us and.
Thank you for having me.
Might be a good idea to bring you back at some point.
Sounds good to me.
Best of luck with your business and your work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I hope your business catches up to, like you were saying, that you were going faster than the business could follow you.
Dragging it behind me, yes.
Yeah.
Ball and chain.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Everybody
Thank
out
you.
there who's checking in on the conversation, thank you for being here. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right? Thanks again, and we will see you next time around. Bye-bye.